This is what we need to do. This is going to bring that school to the next level.
That's Thinkering. This Thinkering process is going to be really transformational to all subjects that we're talking about.
The value of the Alliance is it's a thinking collective. Now we have a greater understanding amongst everyone. And that's not what's common in schools.
I always tell our students this can set you apart, make you stand out, something to remember you by. It's an opportunity to share. It's win-win all around.
I think the biggest part of what we do are the humans that we work with on the other side of that, right? Really see the human impact, the way that they're interacting and working with their community.
It really does have to flip. You should be able to think about that as your hero's journey, to be able to know this is how I was able to overcome.
And they really have this drive to want change. And I feel like continuing that mission is really important.
Welcome to Thinkering Minds, the podcast where we explore bold ideas, innovative education, and the people transforming how we learn. Today, we're joined by Vinod Lobo, founder and CEO of Learning Upgrade, an organization focused on empowering learners worldwide with gamified and engaging courses. From tackling literacy and math to career readiness, Vinod's work is all about making learning accessible, equitable, and fun. Vinod, it's an honor to have you with us. Why don't you take the time to introduce yourself to our audience and tell them a little bit about Learning Upgrade?
Thanks, Jim, for this opportunity. Learning Upgrade, we're 26 years old now. We're based in San Diego, California. And I started it with my parents back in the late 90s. The whole focus of Learning Upgrade is to help people who could not learn in any other way. That means they've been blocked to learning by either special needs, poverty and low income, or English learning language issues. So the idea is, how do we give people an opportunity to learn who have huge impediments to learning in their lives, both adults and children? So right now we've reached about 5 million people. That's children and adults around the world in about 25 countries right now. And what's so exciting is, how can we scale up from here? How can we keep it going and reach a lot more people?
They talk about scaling. It's a very straightforward but powerful mission. How has it evolved over time?
Yeah, in the beginning, it was all about how can we prove that our program really can change lives, can move the needle. It can take someone who just came into a country and get them reading and writing English. Now, we sort of have the content, we know it works, we've done trials and data and everything else. So now it's not so much, does Learning Upgrade work? Now it's more about, how can we get Learning Upgrade to all the people who need it? And the only way you can do that, let's face it, is just partnering with a lot of people. That's what's been so exciting about Thinkering, is that opportunity to partner and scale. There is no way that our relatively small team of creative people, musicians, artists, educators, is going to suddenly reach, 100 million people around the world. That requires local partners, global partners, and so that partnership is where in the last 5 years we've really put a lot of effort into. And let's face it, there's no shortcut. You have to get to know people, meet them online, meet them in person, kind of break bread together and come to some, agreement that you're going to work together. Sometimes it's UNHCR working with us in refugee camps. Sometimes it's tiny little organizations that work with homeless youth or that work with women or girls in crisis. For example, we right now have 3 organizations working in Afghanistan, and we have organizations working in very difficult places in the world and combining our program with all the great things they do. So scale ultimately is about partnerships, and partnerships, it sounds very complicated, but really it's about people. It's about people on their organization and ours kind of coming together, chatting, seeing the shared values and, moving forward.
Yeah, partnerships is one of those things that's very straightforward, but it still takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Learning Upgrades reached millions of learners globally. Was there a moment where you realized that the real scale of impact your work could have?
Yeah, and it happened almost by accident. I found out about the Adult Literacy X Prize competition. And X Prize is, an organization, first private company to send someone to space, and then you win them $10 million, And they never had a prize in education. And suddenly they had this adult literacy X Prize, and we applied, and 108 teams applied, and took years. It was 4 years where we deployed with 12,000 adults all over the U.S. And there was a research test and all that stuff. And when we won that competition, we suddenly realized we're no longer toiling away in obscurity, as I used to say. We weren't the best kept secret in the world. And all of a sudden, let's get out there in the world. And X Prize has helped us kind of reach people that we wouldn't have access to. And through them, we've met other organizations and gone to conferences, and it just builds. I think that if you went back to what was the moment when we won that X Prize competition, the line was going this way and then the line went that way. And I think that was the moment that I realized, this thing could really reach a lot of people.
What about your background in engineering and technology? Do you feel really shaped your experience and your ability to approach education and ed tech the way you do?
Yeah. So, I'm an electrical engineer, computer engineer, and my mom is a professional Hollywood songwriter and a teacher. And when I did my MBA, I wrote a paper called The Future of Multimedia Education. And I can date myself here by saying at that point, you needed a sound card added to your computer to have sound. And you needed to buy this thing called a CD-ROM drive to do interactive games. And so we came up with this idea, how can we put together the family's expertise in education, in music, and in computers and make something interactive that taught people to read? And so we came out with a program called Sounded Outland, where there were songs, and then after that there were games, and you could interact, and it was amazing. That sort of Sounded Outland used to be on CD-ROM, and you could get it at Best Buy or Costco. It launched our company, and then we switched to CD-ROM to internet, web browsers using Flash, and then the X Prize forced us to do an app, and then we went mobile and adult, and the next frontier is AI and voice. So we've had to keep evolving, but I think that background in engineering and music and education. See, there's a lot of people who know how to make video games, but they don't understand learning. There's people who understand education, but they're not good at producing top-notch music. So I think what's so fun about our company is we have songwriters and singers and animators and teachers, and we have to all just kind of roll up our sleeves and make something fun. One of the sort of trademarks, signatures of our company is something we call binge learning. What we're trying to do, our lessons are like 10, 15 minutes long. What we're trying to do is like Netflix, where let's say I'm an adult in a refugee camp and I'm busy all day at work and with kids. Then at 8 o'clock at night, I curl up in bed and I start doing one learning upgrade lesson. And then after that one more. Maybe I'll do one more. And now it's 1 a.m. And we have the data to show that. Recently we had in Turkey, 70% of people using learning upgrade, 70% of the sessions were between 8 o'clock at night and 2 a.m. So what we realized is that education has to be attractive enough and enough fun, even for adults, that they will do it. A lot of education for adults, for example, or older youth is like PD. It looks like PD. It's mind-numbingly boring. So no one wants to do it. I mean, PD you have to do. Your company says do it. But when you think about youth and adults out there in the world that you're trying to teach reading or career readiness, they don't have to do it. It's not PD. There's no company forcing you. So all of a sudden, it has to be really attractive as the alternative, which is them on, YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. So the hard part is making it engaging enough that they binge learn.
They're going to have that fun marketable moment where you have a complaint letter come in and it's going to be a parent who says, I caught my child and they were up all night on learning upgrade and they just wouldn't go to bed and I had to take their computer away. Keeping things fun and engaging seems to be like the key to making learning efforts really stick home. And in literacy and math, I think those are some of the subject matters that immediately just don't seem fun and engaging. How do you think gamification has helped really make it more effective for students to learn and retain that information?
Yeah, when people do our courses, it's kind of funny. We put all our courses on one screen. Normally, learning management systems, will only show you the courses your teacher assigned to you or something. We put them all there because we want them to know when they start on one, there's still 5 more courses to go. And it may take you 25 hours per course, but that's where you want to go. And we want to show them the big picture. Then when they get into a course, they see all 60 lessons. So they know I'm on 10, but I have 50 to go. And the gamification is that thrill. I know I'm not in what we used to call a purgatory of infinite lessons where kids have no idea where it's never going to end. We want them to know, okay, this course is 60 lessons. You're going to do this, that. So the gamification is there within a lesson. Your 10-minute lesson, you got to get 100 points and all that. But then there's the gamification within the whole course. You've got to get a certificate. You got to finish 60 lessons. It's exciting. You got to go in order. And then there's the gamification overall. Hey, look, I want to get my GED. So I'm going to have to do 6 English courses and 5 math courses and a digital literacy course and a GED prep course. So I see the whole big picture. And we've had people go through, one lady who was a Somali refugee, Studio. She was at first grade in reading and first grade in math. Okay. And when she was done with us, she'd done 125 hours on her phone. She had 7 children. So she did all this work late at night on her phone. And then she finally, got her just a GED and went to community college. So we want to gamify it, not just at the sort of micro level, but at sort of the life-changing level. Like what all do I have to do over a long period of time to really change my life?
Your courses are used in so many diverse settings and environments, from classrooms to refugee camps and different audiences, youth to adult learners. How do you ensure the platform remains adaptable and impactful for such a wide range of learners?
Yeah, it's a real challenge to make universal lessons. We try to make lessons that children and adults, people in Africa, Asia, and US can all enjoy, and all the different styles of music we use. And yeah, it is a challenge. What I find is the problem is never the students. The students kind of like it and go for it, and they know the alternative, which is sort of a lot of very boring lessons, so textbooks or whatever. And so students love it. Well, the big challenge we have sometimes is the educators sometimes look at it and say, my students are older or adults or high school, and they won't think this is cool. And then we always have to say, look, just try it. Just, don't make a judgment call. Just go for it. And then it almost always works out well. But yeah, usually the pushback is from people worried, this is a game, this is fun, this is music. Are you sure? For example, we teach digital and financial literacy with music. And so, that's something that adults are using. And so we have to really think it through.
With Learning Upgrade, there seems to be a theme in accessibility. Can you share how the platform addresses the needs of students with learning differences or from underserved communities? Speak to a little bit about how you can go from serving in that environment to someplace like a war-torn country and a refugee camp.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with, when you're a special needs child or adult, one big problem that you have is that people keep trying to teach you the same thing over and over again with the same method, right? So let's say you're having trouble reading and you have dyslexia, and everyone keeps trying to teach you reading the same way. And, you've been through phonics 10 times. Now you're in high school and they're still trying to teach you phonics the same way. I think one of the reasons we've been so successful with people with learning differences, or people who just don't learn in the dyscalculia, dyslexia, or autism, even Down syndrome people, we've had success with reading. And the reason is suddenly you come at them with you blow their minds, because all of a sudden the same thing you've been teaching is done with music and video games, and it's humor, and there's drag and drop stuff and crazy things. And all of a sudden they're saying, oh, wow, okay, this is different. I'll go for this. So it's not magic. It's just how can we get them through the difficult lessons that they need to make a breakthrough and make it enjoyable enough that they'll do the hard work. Because let's just say you need, 100 hours of intensive practice to try to get over some of these, create new connections in the brain. Something about music and games and interaction seems to do the trick, but you have to get them to spend the time. And I think we've had a lot of success with that. And then with adults, often in the kind of environments we work, which, including refugee settings, migrant settings, settings where girls are not allowed to go to school, a lot of times people have not had academic work in a long time. They're out of practice, they're rusty. And I think when you make it friendly, you make it approachable, fun, then it's a big deal. The second thing is privacy. Okay, people underestimate how important it is. You can imagine trying to do ABCs when you're 16 years old in a classroom. It really is embarrassing. But when you have headphones on your phone or on a computer and no one's looking over your shoulder, you can relax, and learn things that you would never learn in a group setting. So I think some of it comes down to privacy and dignity, being able to learn things kind of on your own. We've done work recently in Liberia where most of the adult population didn't learn all the fundamentals after 20 years of war and disease. So you got generations of people who never got elementary and middle and high. And it's very hard. They've been through so much trauma, and now you've got to give them a safe way to catch up. To learn English, to learn reading, math, and digital skills. So privacy, dignity, you just need some pathway that they can just say to themselves, I'm going to curl up with my phone at night or in the weekends when no one's around, and I'm just going to catch up.
Yeah, talking about those needs for kind of those individual learning pathways is important, and that didn't really stand out to me until you mentioned it the way you did. What about the connection between learners and educators, their peers and their community? How does Learning Upgrade facilitate that?
Yeah, I mean, some of it, we've been experimenting a lot lately with what we call WhatsApp learning circles, used with youth and adults around the world. And what it is you get usually a volunteer, it could be paid staff of an organization or a school, who puts together 20 to 50 people into groups, usually sometimes by their academic level, sometimes by their language or geography, whatever connects them. And you make a learning circle. They all talk to each other, and the facilitator talks to them. And what you do is, while you're doing Learning Upgrade all together, you also are interacting and talking about how you're using Learning Upgrade. And it starts out talking about that. Like the facilitator will say, hey, here's a sentence. Record a quick video of what you think about this, and then put it back in the group. And so there will be all these exercises and fun. But then after a while, you find that they're talking about, there's some jobs over here. They're sharing things that have nothing to do with Learning Upgrade, which we love. And then they're sharing their certificates and everything else. So yeah, I think when you're online, especially in refugee settings during COVID, where people don't get to meet in person, then things like WhatsApp and group chat can really help. The way we do that in person is you have learning circles, which is you bring people together and they talk about what they're doing asynchronously at home on Learning Upgrade in a group, and they get to know each other. So yeah, I think these things are possible. It's a challenge because the traditional classroom, which is so wonderful, where you get everyone together in a room and learn, is sort of out of reach in many settings around the world. Either you don't have the teachers or the facilities, or it's dangerous. And so you really have to figure out ways to have a community online.
Yeah, not just giving opportunity, but building community. That's an important key. That ties into the next segment. Experiential learning is a big key in sparking curiosity. How does Learning Upgrade integrate real-world relevance into the gamified digital courses?
Yeah, what we've tried to do is a combination of what I would call word problems, or, trying to simulate some part of life through a lesson. Whether it's, okay, we're going to talk about your finances, and you're going to look at a budget, and we're going to go through a whole scenario, and you're going to experience what it's like to have money and not have money and be in debt and all this stuff, and you're going to see your money go up and down. A lot of different experiences like that, how to teach probability by doing these things, simulations over and over again, how to experience science. I think where we fit is we know that we're teaching the fundamentals. Learning Upgrade was about learning fundamentals. And we're trying to also create the experiences because we have audio, video, gaming. We can do all this stuff. So we're also trying to create real world experiences that they can play with. And then we're hoping, in every situation, we're hoping that they're also getting through their teachers or mentors or facilitators the ability to do real life experiential learning too. That's a big thing. But a lot of times what we hear is that my learners, we're trying to do all these experiential things, but my learners don't all have a grasp of language, or they're not all literate, or they don't have basic skills. And so we become prerequisite, for a better word, that gets people to a stage where a lot of those things work, whereas it's hard for them to work when students don't have basic skills. So we try to include a lot of experiential learning in our program, but then we're also preparing people ultimately for sort of real world experiential learning, with teachers.
When you think about like the aha moment for a Learning Upgrade student, what does that look like?
Yeah, I used to train special needs teachers, and it's so interesting because I would say, look, when they're doing Learning Upgrade, there's a 10-foot rule, you stay 10 feet away, and they're sometimes used to sitting right there. And of course, if someone's sitting right there and you're having a real difficult time reading a 5-syllable word and you have dyslexia, you just ask the teacher, what's that word? And the real aha breakthrough moment for students with Learning Upgrade is when they really put the time in, and sometimes it may be word after word after word they're reading, for example, if they have dyslexia, and then they make a breakthrough, And kids know that to get to the next level in a video game, you have to make a breakthrough. They understand this. So if you stay far away from them and let the natural process happen, which is they have to dig deep and they have to make a lot of mistakes, get a lot of questions wrong and get remediation every time, maybe play a lesson 10 times, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is the hard work of learning. And so a lot of times the beauty of, a program like ours where a student can bash at it like a video game on and on and on. And it suddenly, like you just said, it's suddenly a light bulb. And I'll give you an example of this. I had a special ed teacher tell me once that they tried to teach odd and even numbers to this boy. I think he was 4th or 5th grade, over and over, and nothing worked. And we have a song, and it's a funny song because the singer sings beautifully the even numbers and then sings the odd numbers just terribly. Okay. So he goes, 0 is even, 1 is odd, 2 is, it's funny. And something about that song and something about the way we asked the questions and the way we graphically showed odd numbers a different color on 1 to 100 chart and all. But I don't know. But this kid played this lesson twice and he, boom, knows odd and even numbers perfectly. So that's what I like to hear, which is, again, same material, but we're going to teach it to you in a totally different way, blow your mind a little bit, and maybe make that breakthrough. That's what you're looking for.
Send me that song so I can put it in the closing of the show. For the adult learner who decides I'm ready to take my education into my own hands, and they reach out to Learning Upgrade and they get involved, that seems like a fairly straightforward path. But for a teacher who wants to use Learning Upgrade as a tool in their classroom, what does that path look like?
Yeah, so at learningupgrade.com, there's a big button called Pilot Request. What we do is we just donate 3 months of access to any school or organization that wants to teach. And it's free, and we include training in that for the teachers. And the idea is just put students on, learn how to use it. It's easy. And then put students on and get them using it both in school on computers and laptops and things. and then at home on phones with their parents and things. Try it out and see whether it makes a difference with your students. So I think the key there is we like to just give people access. We do this literally all over the world. Every week we're adding a ton of pilots for 3 months. And so if you're a teacher or you're with an organization or something and you want to try it out, just go to learningupgrade.com and click pilot request. It's quick. It's just a simple little form. And then we get you going, and you can put your students on in 5 or 10 minutes, and then they can use it either on phones or computers, either with you or at home, and see what happens. Yeah.
Where's the most unique and unexpected request come from?
Gosh, we've had, let me give you 3 or 4. It's just quick. We've had a nursing school tell us that they just cannot, college for nurses, tell us that they just can't find people who want to be nurses from the general population, but the only people they can find who want to be nurses are nurses' aides, who are currently nurses' aide and they want to be nurse. And not all, but most of them are failing this entrance test. And it's just simple math and reading, not sophisticated algebra, fractions, smalls, all that kind of stuff. And so we said, I think we can get the nurses' aides up to that level, and that's the kind of thing that, wow, okay, where did that come from? I didn't see that one coming. And then we've had cases where we have institutions where teaching girls is banned and they have to teach them at home, but there's no internet. And so they give them an internet card for their phone, a data card. And then they kind of make a deal with them. If you do so much learning upgrade, we'll keep giving you data every month. And this model, we'd never thought of such a thing. Learning upgrade and data in a conflict area where girls are not allowed to go to school is just mind-blowing. That's the kind of thing that we never thought of when we started this company in our wildest dreams.
That's as far from just a public school classroom in America you can get.
It really is.
What's the role of learning upgrade in the future of education?
Yeah, so where do we fit in? And we see 2 huge needs going on right now. One is for children who are either in school but far behind. Their need to catch up. And schools today just don't have the one-on-one staff, the capability. Even here in California now, there's some incredibly high numbers of students who are 1, 2, 3, 4 years behind. And we can help them catch up, either working at school or at home. So that's the one big area. And by the way, some of those kids are out of school, and we can help them catch up to get into school. But then the second big one is youth, sort of age, let's say 15 to 25, who may never go to school, but they're completely underemployed or unemployed. They don't have an ability to make a good living, and they need basic skills, English and digital skills, financial skills, work skills. They don't have a way to get there, and there's no real school for them to go to or college. And opportunity youth, there's so many different words for this group of people that are just being sort of underutilized. If they get a certain amount of education, they could change their lives. So I think that's the other area that I'm really excited about, that group. Because we can reach them on mobile phones. We can reach them through organizations. We can get them the basics. And then after they get the basics, they can go on to job training or better jobs or college. A lot of them, they get rejected from all 3 of those things because they have some test or some thing and they can't. So those 2 areas, we're excited. I mean, we have big ambitions. We would like to first reach 10 million and then 100 million people. And we have these big goals of how much we're going to scale over the next 10 years. And so, it's very, very exciting. Big challenges ahead, but we're all just, there's so much need that's what keeps me going when I wake up in the morning is there's just so many people whose lives could be changed by education. And so we feel some responsibility. We have the solution. We better get it out to them.
Yeah, and the amount of lives impacted when you extrapolate it out. One person brought up to a learning level they want to be brought up to and empowered is going to possibly become an entrepreneur and an employer or, somebody who's really solving a need in their community. And every time you do that, it's just impacting so many other people. That's really the quickest way we can effectively change the world. With new frontiers and exciting things on the horizon, what's next for Learning Upgrade? When I looked at the website earlier, I saw Health Upgrade is coming soon. What's that about?
Oh, we're excited about Health Upgrade. So much need for basic health literacy and health education out there, including nutrition, hygiene, exercise, and all that, but then also knowing about immunization, knowing about sexual and reproductive health, women's and girls' health, understanding the main diseases, but even simple things. What's an urgent care? What's an emergency room? When would you use one versus the other? Or how is health paid for? What's insurance? So we're really excited about Health Upgrade. That's coming out this summer. And then what's next? A lot of people just talking about AI, AI. But we've been thinking about exactly how different AI technologies can help us reach these 100 million people that we're trying to reach. And specifically, speech to text, a person being able to talk to Learning Upgrade as opposed to clicking a mouse or touching a screen is a big breakthrough for us. If we can do that well, especially with language and language translation. If we can talk to them in a bunch of languages and they talk to us in a bunch of languages, and we can get beyond the English and get beyond the clicking and just have a conversation, I think that's going to dramatically improve the number of people we can reach. And so we're really spending 2025 getting our arms around what's possible, with the AI.
With technology moving so quickly now, where do you see EdTech going in the next 5 to 10 years? And how is Learning Upgrade preparing for that inevitable shift?
Well, for me, EdTech, to me, there's two different sides to EdTech. There's the VC kind of companies that are trying to grow and be unicorn, make billions. And basically they're trying to help other middle-class kids get to Harvard. Okay, that's what, that's what they're trying to do. Or sell to large school districts. And that's what they're trying to do. I think on the other end of the spectrum is people like us who are trying to help the bottom of the pyramid, trying to help people that can't be helped other ways, trying to bring education where education isn't. And for us, the challenge now is, we've got the programs. It's how do we fund it? Because typically people in poverty aren't going to pay for something. So we've got to figure that out. I think when you're thinking about education over the next 5 to 10 years, I don't think the problem is technological. I think we sort of know how to teach people at this point. I think the problem is access, number one. How do we bring everyone access? And that includes internet devices and really good content. Putting that all together and giving people access to this great education, digital education, is the real challenge. Again, I don't think it's necessarily some massive technological breakthrough. I think it's more all the partnerships that have to happen to bring education, digital education, to the mass, to the world, to the people who need it the most, to bottom of the pyramid, people in crisis areas. I think that's the challenge over 5 to 10 years. How do we democratize it? How do we bring it to everyone that needs it? That to me is more exciting than the other side of it, which is, how do we make a ton of money helping kind of wealthy people get smarter? Well, okay, that's the VC side of it. But I think really do think just with the community that we're right now talking to, which includes the Thinkering community, it gives me a lot of hope, that really there's a lot of great people out there thinking through how are we going to bring this to the world? How are we going to educate everyone, percent of people out there, wherever they are, rural areas, no internet, no power, crisis, conflict, climate change. A lot of good people thinking about it, and we're ready to roll up our sleeves. Let's
shift gears for a quick round of slow rolling thunder, where I'm just going to throw out some quick questions, and you just off the cuff give some answers. If Learning Upgrade were a video game, what level would you want every student to master?
It is a video game in a way, but the level I would like everyone to master is where they reach a level where education is no longer a barrier to whatever the heck they want to do. If they want to, if they want to be a teacher, or if they want to start a company, or if they want to go to the moon, I mean, education not a barrier anymore. That's my dream.
What's the most fun feature that you've added to Learning Upgrades?
I really think ultimately it's certificates, it's badges and certificates. It's just ability, I think adults even more than children are like kids when they see a certificate. And we've made more and more ways to share them for teachers to email them, print them, text them, mess around with them. I think giving someone some achievement, something they can hang their hat on, wow, I got a certificate. Look what I did, is a really big thing.
Yeah, when you're overcoming barriers, just little minor wins, sometimes that's all it takes just to keep you going and moving forward in a time where it's hard to. What's one thing that every teacher should know about gamified learning?
I think that there's a negative connotation to video games, that they're violent or people are wasting a lot of time. But anything that sort of grabs your attention for hours and you can spend hour upon hour upon hour with it, can be also turned to a positive, which is education is about time on task. It's time on task. If you spend 20 hours with this math program, you're going to learn twice as much as 10 hours. And so what teachers should know about gamification is that you can increase the hours time on task that child spends learning math or reading or digital. And that translates to much higher rates of learning. And so if it's done right, then the teacher can get, teacher has children that know so much more and so much easier to teach.
What's the best feedback you've ever received from a learner?
The one that we had a whole bunch of kids doing summer school in San Diego Unified. And the teacher said, there's only 2 months of summer school, like so many weeks. So we're going to skip them to lesson 10. And then they're going to do your course, And the teachers thought they're doing them a huge favor, skipping 10 lessons, And the students complained bitterly about it. They're like, what's in those first 9? How come you're not letting us play those first 9? Why aren't you doing that? So they all ended up finishing the course and going back and doing all the first 9. And it just showed you again the feedback of what a teacher's thinking versus what a student used to video games is thinking. It's like one side is thinking extra lessons, that's like eating spinach or vegetables, right? And this other side is like, wait a minute, I want to feel like I finished this game. I don't want to cheat. I don't want to, I've got to do it right. And so it just shows you the mindset. So that
if you could upgrade any skill instantly, what would it be?
Discipline, to me. I think our society is just, people want to do something, but they don't have the discipline to do it. It's just so hard for us today with our attention span and everything else. Yeah.
It's in retrospect, that's probably the best answer somebody could give. Vinod, it's been incredible learning about your journey with Learning Upgrade and the transformative work you're doing. For our listeners out there who want to explore the platform or connect with you, where should they search you out?
Yeah, so learningupgrade.com is our website. You can check that out. We have a YouTube channel. You can search for Learning Upgrade on YouTube to see some of our music videos and sing along. And anyone in an organization or teacher can go to learningupgrade.com and click pilot request and put your kids on. Put your kids on this week.
Thank you for sharing your insights and inspiring us with the power of gamified learning. To our audience, keep exploring, keep innovating, upgrade learning, and keep thinkering. Thanks.
Learning Upgrade. For all even numbers, the ones digit is 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. For all odd numbers, the ones digit is 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9. 0 is even, 1 is odd, 2 is even, 3 is odd, 4 is even, 5 is odd, 6 is even, 7 is odd, 8 is even, 9 is odd. Let's jump ahead. 40 is even, 41 is odd, 42 is even, 43 is odd, 44 is even, 45 is odd, 46 is even, 47 is odd, 48 is even, 49 is odd. Let's jump ahead. 90 is even, 91 is odd, 92 is even, 93 is odd, 94 is even, 95 is odd, 96 is even, 97 is odd, 98 is even, 99 is odd, and 100 is even.
Love the term thinkering, and we'll definitely use it in my classroom. The kids will love it.
This is where we can be that peer support network with each other. When the big picture clicks, it's beautiful when you get administrators and teachers together.
You can't be a leader of other people if you can't first lead yourself, right?
Help the educator have a very clear and structured framework.
Becomes this real community hub. If you're a great educator, you're looking for the most powerful moment. Can we inspire kids to believe that the world needs who they were made to be?
I hope you guys continue to uphold that legacy and continue, finding kids like you.